we have some values in our company, and one of them is family values. So your own family comes before the company. The mentality of family within our virtual assistant. So we think of everybody.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
What's up, podcaster? It's your host, Adam Adams. We're going to be talking about virtual assistants. So on this podcast, the podcast on podcasting, generally speaking, it's about your podcast. It's how do you grow your podcast? How do you start your podcast? How do you launch your podcast? How do you grow it? How do you get better questions? How do you do the best that you possibly can? And today we're getting a little off track, because virtual assistants can benefit you personally. Virtual assistants can benefit your business, and virtual assistants can benefit your podcast. So we're talking about a subject that's a little bit more broad than just podcasting. We're talking about a subject that can benefit your whole life. And to illustrate that story, some of you know that in 2018, I didn't make great money. I think I made average money, like the money that the most common person in America makes. So about 60 grand. And in 2019, I 10x'd that. And it really came because of virtual assistants. So I want to share my story about virtual assistants, hopefully inspire you, hopefully share a few things that they could do for you, and then jump off. And I'm crossing my fingers that you're inspired to get past the hard parts, because I had hard parts. I'm hoping to inspire you to get past those hard parts of getting your very first virtual assistant. So that's going to take me back down to 2018. So in 2018, I had a business, and the business was making fine gross revenue, but I wasn't able to pay myself very well. I was paying myself an average about $5,000 a month, but sometimes it would be 3, and sometimes it would be 10, sometimes it would be 2, and sometimes it would be 8. It was a little up and down, but on average, I was paying myself about $5,000 per month. And I want to talk about when I decided to get that virtual assistant, because I was scared as heck to get that first VA. Let's dive in. So it was 2018, and not only was I making much less money back then, but I was working many more hours. And so when I actually do the math and I look at the hours that I was putting in, which were usually pretty close to 100 hours a week. So sometimes it would be 40 or 60, and sometimes it would be 80 or 100, and other times it would be above 100 and even up to 120 hours, where I might have been working 16 hours or 18 hours in a single day, and doing that is sometimes 6 days a week. And on that 7th day is still working 5 or 6 hours. So I would basically work 12 to 18 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week. Well, one of those days was normally chill, but actually sometimes on Sundays, I would be crazy as well. So think about where I was, because I think that might be where you are. I'm hoping you can relate. I was stressed out. I was working really hard. I was building a business that was feeling like it was doing pretty good, but I wasn't able to really pay myself. Sometimes I could do like 10,000 in that month, and other times it might be like 2,000 or 3,000. So to fast forward, because I want to get to the point for you, I did the math, and I was literally making about $9 to $10 an hour working that year, 2018. I was making about $9 to $10 an hour. I was working my ass off. I was working really, really hard. I was stressed. And I knew that I needed a virtual assistant. I'm telling you, everybody told me, everybody said, this is going to change your life. But I had 2 things going against me. What are those 2 things? A, I didn't have very much money. I didn't have like leftover money. I didn't have extra money. Even like when I would make $10,000 or more that month, I spent it. Like I needed it. I wasn't doing very well the month before, so I spent it. So the first thing that really was going against me about should I hire a virtual assistant is I wasn't really making enough money to justify it. In my opinion, I wasn't making the kind of money that I needed to be able to say, I can go ahead and pay somebody else to be on my staff that I have to pay every single week, every single month, and for the whole year. And I just didn't have the money for that. Second, I didn't think that I had the time because for the most part, I was working about 100 hours in a week. For the most part. Now, some were 30, 40, 50 hours. I had a lot of 60, 70, 80, 90 hours. And sometimes I had 120 hours. But a lot of the time, I'd work about 100 hours in the same week. No joke, no exaggeration, no lie. It was crazy. I did not like it. And you might be working your ass off too. You might be. So if I've got these two things going against me, A, don't have enough money, B, don't have time to even train somebody, don't even know what I would give them, don't even know how I would utilize somebody because I'm so effing busy right now, so busy that how would I spend any more time on top of that just to train somebody new? And if I had a third objection, it was I didn't know about a language barrier. I was thinking if I got somebody from a different country, like the Philippines or something, are they going to be able to speak English? Is it going to be stressful? And so I didn't know. You might have these same three things as well. So what I ended up doing was hired a virtual assistant through a company that their main job was to have a whole bunch of virtual assistants. And then a client like me would come to them and say, I need one. And then they would charge small premium. So it's about double whatever the VA is getting. So they would basically charge $1,600 a month and maybe pay the VA $800 a month, something like that. Well, that's okay. I think that's a benefit because obviously the company needs to have a profit. The company needs to have that $800 a month because they're hiring, they're training, they're making sure that your VA is all set, your virtual assistant is all set. And furthermore, if that virtual assistant quits, gets fired, goes to another job, then they're under the obligation to replace that VA so that you always have one. So they've got to pay virtual assistants to be available on staff, train, hire, and be basically just available for the next client. So there are expenses included. So I was totally fine paying something like $1,600 a month while they were paying the VA $800 a month. And actually, I think this was so long ago because Jerisa, who's that assistant, has been with me for about 6 years. So since 2018, she's on her 6th year. So maybe she started slightly before that, even though if I can't get the exact detail of when she started. I do know that I was in the Philippines back in February of 23. And hung out with all 36 of my full-time VAs and a couple of part-time virtual assistants might have been there as well. But all of my full-time virtual assistants were there and we had a really fun time. We did a lot of really cool things, a lot of really fun things. And one of the things that we did was we gave out pins for how long that assistant or that employee. You can call them an employee. I call them a team member, to be honest with you. My real language when I'm not on this podcast telling you about virtual assistants is a team member. And we try to incorporate the mentality of family within our virtual assistant. So we think of everybody as family. We have some values in our company, and one of them is family values. So your own family comes before the company. So that's my VAs. Their health comes before my company. Their family relationships and friendship relationships come before the company because the company is going to be fine. And we value the mental happiness, awareness, the mental health and physical health and emotional health of our team like family. And we know that if we have their families in order, then the company is going to probably benefit from that. That's what I found. So going back to where I was, I hired her in, I guess, if she's been here for 6 years, it may have been 2017 technically. 2018, I remember, is when we really started focusing on this. And then actually, after she started, we started getting more virtual assistants. But I want to back up and share my thoughts because remember, I had those 3 problems. Those three things holding me back. One, I don't know if I'm saying them in the same order as I said before, so don't worry about that. But one of them was, I don't have enough money. Like, I need to eat too. Second, I can't have enough time. I don't know where I would find the time to even train somebody. And the third, what if there's a problem? What if there's a language barrier? I guess a fourth thing would be, what if they steal money? What if they're not good people? Because I was worried, because whenever you don't know, it's always a fear of the unknown. And so I had all of these things happening. So here's what I ended up doing. I said, F it, man. Like, I'm going to kill my health, destroy my health. So at the time, I was so stressed out from working 100 hours a week or 80 hours a week or 120 hours a week. I was so stressed out from that. When I decided to turn off my computer, I wasn't trying to talk with my kids. I just wanted a beer that followed by a second and third and fourth and fifth and maybe even a sixth beer sometimes. And so I was drinking more than I needed to, certainly, and waking up with a hangover or just not having that mental clarity, because if you have more than 2 drinks, you're probably not going to wake up with the same mental clarity as you would if you were drinking water, for example, or having a fruit juice, even perhaps a Coca-Cola. Even though I don't really think Cokes are good for you either, I think, or Pepsi or anything, I don't want to get sued by Coke in particular. Any sugar soda, I don't really think is healthy. No, I don't think that's going to benefit you. And neither do I think that alcohol is going to benefit you. But I did feel at the time that I was so stressed, I thought that I needed it. It was kind of a vicious cycle downward, but I was still working my ass off. I was working as hard as I could. But my family relationships were not anywhere near where they are today. And certainly not anywhere near where I want them to be. And I still have room for improvement. Absolutely. Especially the relationship with my kids needed to improve. So I was working all these hours, doing whatever I could to just relax and decompress, because it was the entire day of working hard. And I finally got Jerisa through this company where I paid them a premium, and they kept their part and gave the other part to Jerisa. And it was so long ago, like 6 years ago, that I think the prices back then weren't $1,600. I think that they were like $1,200 or $1,300, something like that. And they might have given Jerisa $600 and they might have kept $700, something like that. And I actually, let me back up on one small thing, and I apologize for it. One small thing, because when I very first started with Jerisa, she wasn't full-time. So I started with her as part-time. So I think it was like $800 or $900 back then. And so I start with her, and here's the way that I made it happen. I just said, F it, I have to have an assistant. I have to. I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I would train, but I need one. So step one, I said, I'm going to just do part-time, because I don't know if I could like manage somebody for full time. And I didn't even know how to hire or train. So I worked with this company that knew how to hire and find the person. I worked with them. And instead of training Jerisa, you know what I did is I just had her go on my Zoom. So I would we would do a video call. You could do this on Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts, or there's a lot of these apps available for you. I use Zoom, and you can share your screen when using Zoom. So she was in the Philippines, still is, but at the time she's in the Philippines, but logging in and just watching me work. And it's a little embarrassing because I'm a ADD dyslexic. My brain goes a million miles. How fast I actually physically move is probably a half a mile per hour, while my brain is going a million miles per hour. I will start something, and then I'll start something else, and then I will start something else. And so I'll have like hundreds or dozens of started things and 0 or 1 or 2 finished, completed things. And that's just how some of us entrepreneurs are. You might be able to relate. You might be able to. So Jerisa, I just said, just watch me work. Just watch my computer, see what I'm doing. If you see that you have some insight on something, or you have a better way of doing it than what I'm doing from your experience, just tell me. And if I come up with something that I need your help on, I will tell you. And so anytime an idea would pop up into my head, I'd be like, oh, I need to get flowers for my sweetheart. I need to buy some flowers for her. And so I would say, Jerisa, will you look up flower companies? Here's her address. And would you mind just mailing it for me? And then she actually was excited because she picked out some flowers that were she thought they were great. And so my assistant picked them out. And then when my sweetheart said, that was lovely and they were so beautiful, there was a lot of orange in them. They were more like tropical flowers. And so my sweetheart took a picture and she was like, thank you so much, honey. And so I sent it to my assistant, my VA, my virtual assistant, or my teammate, as I like to call her, my teammate or my family. As I sent it to Jerisa, I let her know, hey, this is what my sweetheart said about that gift. And that really lit up Jerisa's life that day. She was like, oh, I'm so glad she liked them, because I gave her kind of like full reign of selecting the flowers that she liked the most. And other random things would happen. Like I would say, hey, can you get me an automation tool for this? Or Jerisa would say, hey, Adam, you don't have to push the right click and then copy and then the right click and then paste. Did you know you could go Control C and Control V? And I'm like, what do you mean Control Z and V and all these other letters? How do I do that? So she showed me how to do that, and it sped up productivity. And then every now and again, I would say, hey, I need you to delete these Facebook friends, or I need you to send an email to this person saying this. And that way, when a new idea came to my head, I could just give it to her. She would take care of it, and I could stay more focused on another task that I was trying to get accomplished. But whenever a new idea came into my head, she was right there. And after just a couple of weeks, I think it was like a week or two at the most, Jerisa went from part-time to full-time. Now she's a full-time employee, and actually she literally runs my company. She's been with the company for a long, long time. She manages all of the managers. She's the head of the entire admin team, the customer service. She manages the whole team. And she's my highest paid virtual assistant. I think getting paid barely over $6 an hour. And we start virtual assistants at $3.50 an hour. It's actually is a decent wage. To illustrate that, when I was in the Philippines just a few months ago, back in February of 23, when I was in the Philippines, I asked a lot of people, bartenders, people that would work at 7-Eleven, cab drivers, and people at the pharmacy, the bank teller, one bank teller. I'm a nosy asshole, so you're going to hear me. I'm a curious person. Absolutely. So I try to ask questions without offending people. Like I'll ask awkward questions to people with a genuine smile on my face and a calm demeanor, and usually they'll answer. So the point is that somebody at the bank made about $1.09 per hour. It was approximately, when you do the math in US, this person, a loan officer at the bank, was making about $1.09 per hour. 7-Eleven, about the same thing, $1 to $2 an hour. Other virtual assistants in call centers, $1, $1.50 per hour. A medical person, actually, to be honest, I met them on Tinder, but a medical person, she makes about $1.09 as well. I'm like, I could triple your income. Like, join me. And she's afraid to, because she doesn't want to hurt that relationship with her bosses, even though she has a daughter. So it's a single mother with a daughter, and she's making about $1 an hour. I'm like, if you just come to my team, you could be making 3 times this. And she works in the medical field. So in the medical field, in the gas stations, in the banks, they're making like between $1 and $3 an hour. And we start at $3.50. And my main person, who's at the top, makes about, I think it's like $6.25, I think. I would have to look up to know, but we give them raises. My team, growyourshow.com, my team, Grow Your Show, it's a podcast agency. We support you, and we pass along those savings. One of the reasons why we are so affordable is because our team is making $3.50, $4.50, $5.50 per hour, as opposed to $20, $30, $40, $50 an hour, which if you're working with somebody in the US, right now, today, they're probably not going to be willing to work for less than like $23 an hour, depending on the city. I mean, there's some smaller towns where maybe $12 an hour is fine. But in Denver, I can't find anyone to work for less than $23. And a lot of people want $30 or $40 or $50 an hour. So that's just how it goes. Anyway, I want to finish up this episode with you to really give you the information that I think you need, because I think you need to be inspired to get your virtual assistant. So going back, Jerisa, we started with her part-time. A week or two later, I was like, let's go full-time. And then I started making more and more and more money. I started slowly making more money and working less. And when I did the math in 2018, I made about 10-ish bucks an hour, like $9.5 to $10 an hour. And in 2019, when I 10x'd my income, but I went from about 100 hours a week down to 60 hours a week. In that 1 year, I was making about I don't remember now, $193 an hour, I think it was. I wonder if I still got it on my phone when I did the math. Let me look at that. So, yep, 193.54.8, 193 and 55 cents per hour. So I went from 10 to 200. Think about that for a second. If you are working your ass off, making $5 to $20 an hour, and you got yourself a virtual assistant, even though you're scared, even if you don't think you got the money to pay them, even if you don't think you got the time to pay them, even though you're not sure if there's a language barrier and it's going to be frustrating, even though you might be concerned about, number 4 was, is there going to be integrity? If you think about these 4 things and you decide to get that virtual assistant, they can really help you. So I want to answer these 4 questions. Number 1, you don't have enough money. So basically what I want to say to you is do a leap of faith. If you're working hard and money is coming in, but you just can't pay yourself yet, maybe get that virtual assistant to offload some of the things so that you can focus on better, more revenue generating activities for your company, for your podcast, or for your personal self, like buying flowers for your sweetheart, for one example. When you get that person to support you as a personal assistant or virtual assistant from the Philippines, for example, you're going to have the ability to bring in a lot more money for you and your company. And in my case, the money skyrocketed. It really, really, really helped. Didn't drink as much alcohol. I was starting to play with my kids more, growing a relationship with them that I really wanted to have happen. So huge benefits. Number 2 was you don't have enough time to train them. Try what I did. Go part-time for a little while. Let them just watch you work, give you suggestions, whatever they see, help you reply to some of the emails, do a quick task that comes to your mind on the spot. They'll just take care of it. 3rd, the language barrier. Now, for a small select amount of people in the Philippines, the language barrier is more challenging. I think it's about a third, and a third. Okay, so a third of the folks from the Philippines might really mainly speak their native language and not have the opportunity to use English as much. Although English is a language that everybody learns, they might not have it fluently because a third of them are in smaller, more rural places where it's not going to come up. It's rarely going to come up. And they probably know about as much English as I know Spanish. And I've been learning for months every single day on my app and having a private personal coach teaching and training me twice a week on Spanish. And I have a general knowledge, but there's a lot that I still need. And so maybe that's them, a third of them. Then there's a third where they're pretty dang fluent. Like they're really good, but they'll say a couple things weird. They will add an S on a word that doesn't need an S, or they will not put an S on a word that needs an S, or they will conjugate it slightly different. You can still understand, but it sounds weird because it's probably not their native language. And then there's about a third, or 33% of all of the peoples in the Philippines where their English is phenomenal, where they know just as much English as somebody in, well, let's say the US, for example. Their English is strong. Although they might have an accent, they practice English. English might have been their degree in college. Actually, this happens a lot in the Philippines. They'll get a college degree literally in English, and they read books in English like crazy and watch movies in English, and they sound like you and me. Maybe possibly a little bit of an accent, but as far as like the actual English, it's fluent, perfectly fluent. And then the 4th concern that I had was maybe there's less integrity. And now I want to address that because there's pros and cons. In Manila, which is a huge city, I think that I looked this up a few times, and all of the times so far, it's been accurate. Manila is the tightest city, most people per square mile anywhere in the world, more than Dubai, more than Hong Kong, more than Manhattan, where Manila is so densely populated. It's such a small area with a few million people that it became the most. And because of some poverty, some things like that, in this one small area, there is crime, there is deception, there is people trying to make it work because it's more expensive to live there. And that's where a lot of the money is. And it will attract some people to do bad things like anywhere else, right? Just like in the US. I mean, you can't go to a city and not find any of this. However, this is what I learned when I was in Bohol and talking to my team, because I've got team from General Santos, Bohol, Cebu, Manila, and all of these other parts of, because with 36 full-time employees, everybody comes from a different place. And then we got them all to one place. And as I was talking to them, everybody seems religious. Now, I don't want to try to say that if you're religious, you're a good person. If you're not, you're a bad person. I'm personally not religious either, and I don't think I'm a bad person. I think I'm genuine, I'm caring, I'm loving. I think of other people first. I put people first. I support people. I want to have integrity in everything, although I don't church every Sunday. In the Philippines, it's very normal to go to church on Sunday, and there's a lot of my employees that pray for hours a day. And I learned that they're just some of the most giving humans, with exception of the crime that can happen, mostly in the big city of Manila. With that exception, the people in these other cities, these smaller towns, pueblos, if you will. I'm learning Spanish. Town is pueblo. But in these smaller towns, they're just incredible humans, giving, nurturing, loving, warm. They think of other people first. They put other people first. They want to be honest in everything. So I have learned, not just from visiting the Philippines, although I learned more when visiting, but I learned certainly over the last 5-6 years of having virtual assistants, many virtual assistants, that my concern what if they're going to steal money from me? What if they're going to do something bad? What if they're going to deceive me? Don't they have access to all of my stuff? And those concerns, no problem. Those concerns, no problem. So I've really loved it. I'll like to end the episode just letting you know that I actually have a virtual assistant service. So what I'm about to share is going to be like more of a sales pitch, if you will. I'll just share what it is that I do in case it can support you and help you. We can place a virtual assistant, for around that $1,600 a month. Who knows when you're going to hear this, but I'm recording it in 23. I've had this business for about 4 years so far, and I am going to keep supporting and helping people with virtual assistants. So if you're looking for a VA for your business or your personal life or your podcast, my company, My VA, it's literally called My VA, My Virtual Assistant, if you will. My company, My VA, can place somebody for you with no upfront fee, and you pay about $1,600 a month. Or if you do a minimum of a 6-month contract, then it drops down the price for you, and it can go month to month after. Or we can do a one-time placement fee where you pay a bigger amount upfront, and then you never pay my company that residual. You just pay your virtual assistant, and it can save you money if you are going to keep your virtual assistant for a while. So the company that I worked with to get Jerisa, they have a number where it costs $12,000. If you ever want to take your virtual assistant off of their platform and just have that virtual assistant personally, so you can pay the $350 or the $450 an hour, $550 or whatever you want to pay them, it's going to cost $12,000 to get them off of the platform and into yours. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all, because it's very prohibitive. So I am paying something like $1,600 a month to have Jerisa on my team. And the company makes a profit and Jerisa makes a profit, and they're both getting paid just fine. And I could save a few $100 if I got her off of that, since I know that I want to work with her literally forever. She's the best ever. I'm so grateful that she's on my team. If I did that, it'd be $12,000. And so I started to think to myself about, do I like that? Should I do that? Is that what other people are expecting or wanting? And so what I did instead is it is less than half that price. So it is little less than $6,000, about 5,795, I think. Don't quote me on that. You can look at the website. It's growyourshow.com/VA, like virtual assistant, growyourshow.com. That's, my company. And it go /VA. And with that in mind, it can be $57.95, I think is the right number, to have the virtual assistant that we do all of the hard back work, and then we just place them. And now you have the virtual assistant, and you can pay them each month or each week, $3 an hour, $4 an hour, $5 or $6 an hour, whatever you choose, etc. So that could be beneficial. And so we've got the upfront placement fee of that, and then you just pay the virtual assistant, or you can start working with us at the $1,600 a month for full time, or a little discount if you do a 6-month contract. And if you would like to then, when you're done, say, I love working with this person and I want to take them off of Adam's platform, then we're totally happy to do that. And instead of charging like $12,000, which is what this other company is doing, is about half the price, $57.95. So I think that's a huge benefit, because anytime you need help, they're there for you. They can work full-time, they can work part-time, they can do scraping of data, they can do entering of data, they can do phone calls for you, they can do private messages about your podcast to grow your audience, they can buy your flowers, they can book your flights, they can book your hotel, they can do all of these things so that you can focus on the more revenue-generating activities of your business. And hopefully, in my case, I 10x'd my income from 18 to 19 when I went from one virtual assistant to, I think, 3, maybe 6. I don't have the exact number, because every time that I thought I could get another virtual assistant, I would grow. And I've gotten up to 36 as we are recording this. And based on all of that, I don't remember how many I had exactly, but when getting a few virtual assistants, my company started making more money. I personally made a lot more money. I personally worked a lot less hours. I was happier. I was healthier. My relationships with my kids, my relationship with my sweetheart, we've now split up years after that girlfriend that I had for a few years. The relationship grew because I had time for her. And then I figured out that basically, I don't know why I'm sharing this, but I just feel compelled to. She wasn't looking for marriage and I was, and so things weren't going to work out perfectly for us. And so I broke up with her. So anyway, just the strength of the relationship worked a lot better. The amount of time that I spent, my moodiness around her decreased so that I was just healthier, happier Adam. And I was more present for her. I wasn't always on my phone constantly when I was with her, because now my virtual assistants were taking care of all that. So my relationship got better. My loving relationship got better. My kids' relationship got better. My health relationship got better. My relationship with alcohol got better. And the amount of work, it got better. My stress level went down. So cortisol goes down. So my testosterone went up. So I started burning more fat. I started eating healthier. And it's just this upward cycle, like this, a downward spiral. And this is an upward spiral. Yeah, I did a few things. I tried to cut out some alcohol. I tried to make more time for my kids. I tried to give more of my work to my virtual assistants. And wouldn't you know it, within a year of having a virtual assistant going up to 3, going up to 6, I ended up 10xing my income. So think about your income. Maybe you could double it. Maybe you could 5x it. Maybe you could 10 times your income, or possibly, who knows, maybe you're in a position where you could 20x your income. Even if it was double, even if you made twice as much in the next 12 months as you did the last 12 months, while also spending $3, $4, $5, $6 an hour on a virtual assistant, is that not a benefit to you? Think about it. If I can help you, if you feel like my team can help you, if you want to interview with us and have a discovery call on that, go to growyourshow.com/VA, as it would stand for virtual assistant. And that is where you'll get our website. You'll get some information. You'll get a video talking about how virtual assistants work and how our company works. And you can schedule a call with me so that we can determine if we can place a virtual assistant with you, and if the pricing of part-time and full-time and of an assistant that we placed for you was confusing, and I'm sure it was, or you might have forgotten it, or you're driving, you want to look at it again. You can look at it on the website, and or you and I will talk about it, and I can ask you some questions and then tell you which route I think is going to be better for you. So My VA is the company, My VA, and you find it by going to growyourshow.com/VA. I will see you on the next episode. It's going to be an interview episode where I'm actually interviewing somebody in your position. Maybe they're a little further ahead. Maybe they got a few more downloads. Maybe they learned a couple more things. And that's going to support you in that interview because I'm asking questions that I think you're looking for. So I'll see you on the next episode. You're not alone if you're ready to either get your very first affordable microphone or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to some legit podcasting studio equipment. Because on all of the forums over the last few months, I'm seeing this all the time. Even my own personal clients that work with my team, they're ready to get that next microphone. They're asking us for it. Additionally, when I'm on discovery calls with potential clients, they're always asking for this stuff. Hey, what mic do you recommend? Hey, what lighting do you recommend? What webcam should I be using? So many questions. And so what we did, my whole team has put together a PDF so that if you're one of those people who is looking to either get your very first affordable microphone, or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to more professional podcast studio equipment, whether it's soundproofing or whatever, we've got you covered by going to growyourshow.com/PDF. And you can download the PDF for free, or right there on the webpage is everything that you would have and you don't need to download the PDF. Either way, just go to growyourshow.com/PDF, which will put you to the podcasting equipment that me and my team have personally vetted. I'll see you on the next episode.